Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome to the stage Editor-in-Chief of Arabian Business, Scott Armstrong.
Hello, and welcome to the AB Technology Forum, the latest event from Arabian Business. You're all very welcome to today. So Bill Gates once said, "Be nice to nerds. One day, you'll likely end up working for one." Something my team know all too well. As ever, he was right. A man who decades ago said that the internet would one day become the digital town square for the global village. Today, there are more devices connected to the internet than there are human beings on the planet. Smart cities and virtual worlds are something that are no longer the play of just science fiction. We live and work in them every day. Some of us have flourished with technologies, others have struggled. I cling fast to one simple truth taught to me by my IT department. Have you tried turning off and on again? Here in the UAE, the digital economy promises more opportunity than never before. So today, we're delighted to explore this and try and ride that wave of innovation all the way to success. Before we start, there are a few simple housekeeping rules. Firstly, if you'd like to send a question to any of the panelists, you'll find on your tables a little card that contains a QR code and a number. And you can WhatsApp your questions. Now, that's my personal number, so please remember that my wife will be reading all your messages. Compliments are encouraged. Secondly, if you do enjoy the content today, we would encourage you to subscribe to arabianbusiness.com. And on your tables, there is a sheet with a QR code that will give you a very generous discount. And lastly, we are still in the grip of a pandemic, though easy to forget in the UAE. So the usual social distancing rules apply. Please try and keep your masks on, avoid shaking hands and swapping cards, I know that's tempting, and maintain the social distancing. And that's it. So it's on with the show. And we're going to start with our first panel, which is embracing the digital economy. What the digital landscapes mean for businesses. We're starting big picture. So at this point, I'd like to invite my first guests to join me on stage. First off, Mr. Akef Alaqrabawi, who is the CEO of Injaz Al Arab. Please give them a round of applause as they come to the stage. Very grateful for their time today. Akef, please.
Good morning. Thank you.
Secondly, Moza Suwaidan, who is the Director of Strategy and Innovation with Digital Dubai. Very excited to have you here today, Moza. Thank you. Next up, Thibault Werlé, who is a Managing Director and Partner of Technology, Media and Telecommunications and Emerging Technologies. This man knows a lot. And he's with BCG. Welcome, Werlé, to the stage. And finally, another long title, Dr. May Al-Barachi, Associate Dean of Research and Associate Professor of the Faculty of Engineering and Information Sciences at the University of Wollongong in Dubai. You are very welcome. Welcome to all of you. So we'll start with the first question. Now, today we're talking about smart cities, but it feels like I've been writing about smart cities since 2015. And I've read one definition which says, basically, a smart city is a city that uses data to improve services. Are we still talking about smart cities, or have we evolved beyond that? And if so, what's the term that we should be using, and where are we heading? And Moza, I'm going to put the pressure on you to kick off. Have we grown beyond smart cities, and what's the next thing? Because Dubai's been leading this for a number of years now.
Thank you so much for the question, and I'm very pleased to be here today. Basically, away from the fancy words, Scott, and we've been living in a world where there's always a buzzword around us, smart city, digital twins, and everything. We all work in technology. Really, what cities are trying to do today is to make the citizens happy, having seamless experiences around the city, from the minute you wake up in the morning till the minute you sleep at night. Every life event that you go throughout the day, being at work or in school or in universities or in hospitals or even going shopping, all these different moments of life is what the city is trying to make them as something that you are pleased to do, as well as seamless and digital experiences. So really, we're trying to make the life of people in Dubai easy. This is the bottom line of everything we've been doing. And this is actually what all the cities around us are actually doing. They are investing in technology to make life easy and seamless. So whether we call it smart city or digital city or whatever term that might come next, this is the ultimate objective. And here in Dubai, since we've started this journey in 2000, almost 20 years ago, customer have been the center of everything we do. Everyone remembers, the happiness agenda that was launched, which basically tells us, you know what, the government is investing in technology, but if that did not result in happiness of people, then we're not really on track. It has to have that positive impact. So, in my opinion, whatever you call it, the ultimate goal is to create a positive impact on the people who lives in the city.
Thibault, I'll bring you in here. What would you call it?
The definition, I think, still holds true. I think the key word is data, right? We have not deployed a lot of smart city solutions across the cities, but then we're getting the benefits from it. We have smart meters, we have smart alarms, and that's fantastic, right? But I think there's still a lot that needs to be done around the data that is being generated. How do we make sure that all these smart city solutions that we deploy speak to each other? I think we made cities smarter, but I think to really make them smart or digital or cognitive, I think the word doesn't really matter. I think it's making sure that the data flows are there, making sure that we can exchange between the different solutions, and we have a seamless, just going back to this word, a seamless operation of smart city. So I like the definition. I think there's still work that needs to be done around it.
Akef, I suppose any city is only as smart as its citizens in some respects, and you're at the forefront of trying to equip the younger generation as they come out there with more tools so they can take advantage of it. Do the younger generation do they even think about a smart city, or do they just take it for granted now that all that technology is there?
Yes, first, the definition still stands true.
Yeah.
And I would add to this point, from an education point of view, that smart education is a key player in the development of smart cities.
Okay.
Proper e-learning infrastructure, advanced training opportunities and topics, innovation, education in technologies, all of these elements are part of the definition of a smart cities. If we want our people, young people, the citizens to thrive and excel in these cities, then education should be addressed as a core element. And this is not the responsibility of the government alone. It's a collective and joint effort between the public and private sector to make this happen in any city.
Dr. May, I'll bring you in here. You're also an educator. What's your definition of smart city? Still hold true?
Yeah, I think that the definition is true, but I would say that there's a lot of emphasis when you talk about smart cities on the technology side. But I believe that smart cities, although they are technologically advanced, their key purpose is to focus on sustainability and quality of life, as was mentioned before. So all what we're doing here is just using technology as a tool to make things more sustainable and to make the citizens happier. So.
It's at this point that I have to confess that I'm not that smart because I've left my phone on the table there for all the questions that should come in. So if someone could bring it to me, that would be brilliant. Excellent work. Moza, I wondered if you could give us a quick helicopter view of Dubai's mission, because we've seen a lot in the headlines and we've been reporting about this at Arabian Business. We've got new digital chambers of commerce. We've got, you're a legend, thank you. We've got the new Digital Dubai Authority, and you're now Digital Dubai. So can you give me a helicopter view of your mission?
Of course. So Dubai Digital Authority has been announced by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, the Prime Minister, Vice President and Ruler of Dubai recently. However, this was, I would call it as an announcement of the fourth generation of digital transformation of the city. We've been going through the journey for 20 years now. We started with e-government. We all remember e-government, and then we moved into m-government, and probably all of you remember the picture of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed holding a mobile phone and saying, I want all the services to be on this device. Mm-hmm. And then we moved from that to smart government. Now we're talking about smart services and smart operations inside the government. And then recently, we're moving towards the fourth generation of saying it's a smart city. And smart city does not only have to do with the government, it's definitely partnership across the city, across all the different sectors. So really the mandate of the Dubai Digital Authority can be summarized in digital society. So whatever we do, the impact is on the society, on the individuals, on the businesses, owners, and all that. And we have to make sure that the society is digitally enabled and have all the different tools, especially that really we are in a country where most of the population is young population. And really, it's a driver for us to move forward. The second pillar of the mandate is basically talking about digital economy. Now, really investing in ICT infrastructure and creating job opportunities, attracting foreign investment into the city of Dubai, even in the region, actually. Anything that happens in the region is a win for Dubai as well, and vice versa. So digital economy is one key pillar for our mandate in the upcoming few years. The third one is what we've been doing for the last 20 years, which is digital government. How can we take us to the next level? We have most of our services, I would say 99% of our services are actually available online. We are now working into integrating those services. And when I say services, it's not only the government, but it probably starts from the government, but also there are integrated services that comes with the private sector. And from the citizen point of view, we really don't want the citizen to think, if I want to buy a car, if I want to buy a house, where do I go? It should be seamless. It doesn't really matter if that service is offered from the government or the private sector, as long as the service is simple, easy, seamless, and fully digital. And of course, all of these three different areas is empowered by data. Coming back to your first question, data is definitely one key enabler for everything that we're doing. Same thing for cybersecurity, for example. And having this, if you paint this picture that I just explained, this is what Dubai Digital Authority is all about, and the entities that has been also merged. Remember, we are now 4 entities under one umbrella. We are Smart Dubai Government Establishment, we are Dubai Data Establishment, Dubai Center for Information Cybersecurity, and Dubai Statistical Center. So we managed to have digital arm, data arm, as well as cybersecurity arm under this whole umbrella, and hopefully we're going to drive the next level of digital transformation in the city.
Thibault, I'll bring you in here from BCG's perspective. Where do you think we're going, and what's going to shape the digital future of the UAE? I mean, I remember the day when I realized I could pay my power bill with my face, or cafe, where we can fill our cars up via an app, and I thought that was peak Dubai then. But we only seem to be getting better and better in terms of the services. Internet of Things almost seems a given now. We seem to expect it. So where do we go next?
Yeah, I think you cannot speak about future without speaking of sustainability, right? So I think we're going to see more and more investment in technology for the sustainability agenda, right? The CEO of BlackRock actually recently said in one interview that he's expecting to see dozens of unicorns, not in food delivery or social media.
An image my daughter would love.
But in green technology, and I think that's true. I think we're going to see a lot of investment, because that's definitely where one of the key trends that we are seeing in the current environment, right? So everything related to smart mobility, smart waste management, in the context of smart cities, I think we're going to see that a lot more in the current years, and I think that's part of the regional agenda, but the global agenda as well. If we want to make city sustainable, technology will be there. I think the second key trend that we're seeing is around digital infrastructure. Definitely here, especially in the UAE, we are blessed. We have, I would say, state-of-the-art digital infrastructure. You have 90% coverage of fiber. That's not true everywhere in every country. So we definitely have this competitive advantage. I think going forward, we'll see more and more investment, especially with the rollout of 5G. And all what it will allow in terms of smart city, right? We're going to be able to connect not only thousands of sensors, but millions of sensors. We're going to be able to leverage the low latency and the high speed to have new use cases. So autonomous driving, for example, will be enabled through 5G, right? So definitely, I think digital infrastructure is a second key trend. And the last one, and we talked about it already very briefly, is cybersecurity. We are putting technology inside our daily life, but also inside our critical infrastructure. And there's definitely some benefits, but we see the risk. You've seen recently in the US with the Colonial Pipeline that was hacked, right? The thousands of people couldn't get gasoline as a result of this. So we're going to see also a lot more emphasis and investment in cybersecurity in the context of smart city, but of the broader digital economy. If we want to grow it, we have to protect it. So that's, for me, are the 3 key trends. Sustainability. So
you're basically saying cybersecurity is going to become the plumbing of these new cities. They're going to be it's as vital as drains, sewers, pylons, that sort of thing.
Exactly. So you could technically control the city from one control room. So you definitely have to do end-to-end protection from the physical part to the digital part. So definitely an important point.
Now, Akef, I'm still stuck on the image of a city full of unicorns. I love that. Many of those unicorns are going to come from the people that you're working with, again, the younger people. Just give me a sense of what you're doing at Injaz to empower your students coming through into the new economy and how they grasp and how you give them the tools that they can unlock these opportunities.
At Injaz, like so many other organizations regionally and globally, we got affected by COVID-19. And to be honest with you, I have to admit that COVID-19 had a positive impact on Injaz, on the way we do things, on the way we implement our programs. In one day, the entire organization, the 14 chapters in MENA region, made an immediate shift from in-person classes to virtual implementation. And when I say in-person classes, usually our volunteers from the private sector step into classrooms to deliver our programs. So we made that shift from in-person to virtual implementation. And that was huge. If you think of it, we are talking about 500,000 students in Injaz reach and impact on an annual basis. So you can imagine the size of work that we've done overnight. But I would like here to focus a little bit on Injaz skills offering. Because what we did right after the first wave of COVID-19, we looked deeply at our skills offering, and we tested them, we evaluated them against skills taxonomy that was designed by McKinsey, and it was designed based on needed skills for now and for the future. And the evaluation shows that most of the skills are being met and covered by Injaz, and we need to keep focusing on them, but we need to double down our efforts towards expanding on digital literacy and digital skills. Now with the new strategy, we have a lot of actually partnerships and programs that we are running in the region with Google, SAP, Microsoft, LinkedIn. We've launched so many events in the region, and with the new strategy, we have a big dream. We're talking about a youthful region. Imagine that in the 14 chapters Injaz operating in, there is 100 million youth exist. And if you look at our penetration rate, it's less than 1%. So we have a bigger role.
Can I ask then, because you say about you updating the skills, what are those skills? If we drill down into, and I'll go across the entire panel on this, what do you think the key skills are? And that's whether it be the youth now, but then that's also any of the entrepreneurs out here or the businesses that they need to, bring into their business.
A lot of skills, Scott, but there are three themes that we are focusing on at this stage. One is higher cognitive skills,
right?
Human skills, interpersonal skills, and leadership, self-leadership skills. Those are actually the three themes that we are focusing on at this stage. Plus, we're actually building on digital skills and digital literacy as we go on.
I can see Dr. May nodding her head there. Does that gel with you, what you're teaching, what you're seeing at the coalface with your students? Particularly, human skills, leadership skills, are they as important as being able to practically push the buttons and code the machines?
Yes, I mean, we need to adapt to the needs of the future, right? So I think that education institutions should invest into digital transformation skills. These are critically in need and huge shortage. When we talk with industry players, they say that they can't find many people with digital transformation skills. So this is something we've been working on recently to introduce into our curriculum.
I'm going to come back to you in a moment, but Moza, for you, top 2-3 skills that you think organize, Digital Dubai, when you're talking to your customers, what are you saying, right, you need to be doing this, top skills?
Well, in terms of skills, which is also part of our mandate, actually, is to develop the digital skills in the city when it comes to the ICT, basically, domains. And what we see is, no matter what technology comes out in the market, the basic skills of coding, and this comes back to the initiative that was announced recently.
Yeah.
Really, the foundation of everything we do in technology is the ability to understand and really code and program these technologies, whether we talk about, AI or blockchain or whatever, the basic technology skills is still the same. And then comes other domain of technology, which is basically, data management. Data science is one of the areas that will be very much in demand in the future. It's actually in demand right now, and there are not many resources in that area, and especially if you talk about the local, community here in Dubai. Another one is cybersecurity. With the increase of adoption of smart cities and with the increase of competition between smart cities, actually there will be a competition as well in terms of attracting these resources. And cybersecurity is one of those that, whether that cybersecurity person is a good hacker or a bad hacker, these are in demand. And we've actually, recently heard the news about a hacker who actually hacked a system somewhere in the globe, and this company had to hire him to attract him. And so cybersecurity, information security domain is also becoming very much in demand. Actually, I just advised my son to go into cybersecurity and get a degree in that. So I think that's going to be dominant in the future.
Thibault, I think you're nodding your head and you were talking about cybersecurity. Your top 3 skills.
Maybe I will not speak about, I think we'll cover skills. I think beyond skills, there's also the point of ways of working, right? So I think we need to take all these skills, but if we don't change the way we are working in the corporate world and also in the public sector, I think that won't work, right? So we're seeing a lot more, agile way of working, bringing people from different teams, trying to have this kind of cross-domain approach to problem solving. So a more collaborative approach also to working. So I think we need, the skills are important, but we need the glue to bring all of them together. And that's for me, that's the new ways of working that we are seeing.
Let's just stay with that for a second. Yeah, Karen, please.
I have something, if we look at, actually, I know that the skills are very much needed at this stage to discuss and to be exposed to our young people in the region and the companies. But also, it's not the skills offering, it's the digital technology as well. And Injaz is a good example to explain that. Usually, when we reach out to our students, we go directly to ministries of education, to schools and universities to be able to reach out to our students. And we take the class as a class. With the digital technology, we've been able to grow and make more impact and reach more young people in the region. If we launch a virtual program with Injaz Kuwait, you would actually find 20 to 25% of young people coming from neighbor countries and from North African countries. And this is very important to us. So making a shift from B to B to B to C is something very much needed at this stage. So it's not only the skills offering, it's how we actually implement things on the ground.
Now, you just touched on a point there, which is I'm really, really passionate about, which is kind of like the future of work. So when we're looking at technology, we've got obviously the physical implementation of the technology, but then there's how we as individuals and organizations and workforces, use that technology. And Thibault, and I'm going to bring Dr. May in here. Do we need to change how we then operate as organizations to be able to make the most of this technological revolution? We seem to be resetting to default, which is we had the pandemic. We then all learned that we could actually work remotely and agilely, and now many companies are now resetting to default. Is that a wasted opportunity? Should we be looking at this moment in time and going, actually now we've got the technology coming, we've got the Internet of Things, we've got 5G, now let's actually look at the best way to implement that into our organizations. Thibault nodding vigorously, so I'll let you go first and then Dr. May.
It's probably too early to answer that. I do see that trend, right? So now that we are, getting used to the current situation, I think, there are some companies that would like to go back to the old ways of working. I think you see other companies, when you see now the new rules around remote working for some of the big tech companies, getting rid of the headquarters, and saving all that real estate and moving to full virtual type of work. I think there are some companies that are definitely pushing that agenda. I think for some others, the natural reaction is to go back to the previous, ways of working. I don't think it will work, right? So I don't think the companies who are not adapting their ways of working to the new reality will be performing as well as the one who are embracing them, right? And I think we'll see that very soon in the next few months, in the next few years, right? You will not be able to go back to the old ways of working.
Do you think it's a bottom line conversation? Do you think that the profits and profitability of the companies are going to be linked to whether or not they look at this moment, take the opportunity to think again about how they operate? Do you think their future profits could be linked to this if they don't move?
I think their profits are going to be impacted, right? So moving on to more virtual, obviously there's definitely some impact on your balance sheet, right? But I think also it's in the overall sustainable, agenda, right? I don't think a lot of investors will accept to see companies going back to the previous ways of working, of flying executive, individual across the world, and so on, right? So I think the pressure will also come from investors. They see not only they get higher return on the investment, but they're also, that fits into the broader, sustainability agenda. So that's why I think there will be some pressure on companies to actually move away from this, I would say, old habits.
Dr. May, what's the workforce of the future think about this as they're coming out? Do millennials and the Gen Zs want a 9 to 5 in the office every day? How are you teaching them to actually go out into the world of work? Are they expecting a bit more flexibility?
Excellent question. So I think that they have different characteristics. So we deal mainly with Gen Z and some millennials who are doing postgraduate. And I think they are, of course, they're digital natives, but they're also a generation of entrepreneurs. They're kind of social activists, and they expect to do things in a different way. I think most of them contemplate being entrepreneurs more rather than 9 to 5 job. Simply, I think, because of the potential of making impact is more, but I don't think this model works for them that much. And even in education, when we teach them, we have to adapt our style.
Really, already?
Yes, definitely. They're expecting a bite-sized information. They want more multimedia content. The idea of just the passive, sitting down and
This
receiving.
seems terribly unfair. If we had to go for the 9 to 5 grind, why shouldn't they have to?
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, they want to interact more. They want to have a voice, but in a specific way.
Yeah.
They want to text more and comment in text rather than speak. So it's very interesting. I mean, they're 50% of the population if you combine millennials and Gen Z. So we really need to adapt our ways of doing and our models to suit this younger generation, in my opinion. And this 9 to 5 model just doesn't work for them.
Talking of text, my phone's been buzzing away. So there's some questions coming in from the audience. Thank you very much for your questions, everybody. First question, and I'm going to ask this to Moza. Thank you, Thomas, for this question. How important is cross-sector collaboration, specifically public and private, and how can we foster better collaboration? I guess that's kind of your mission, isn't it?
It's absolutely a mission for us. It's no longer an option. We are not talking about, we're going to, enable the city experiences and boost economy and encourage a digital society as a government. That's absolutely out of question. We have it as a mission and mandate to collaborate and partner with private sector. Very close collaboration. It's almost co-creating the city of Dubai. It's a different type of partnership, actually, if you think about it. It's investment from both sides to make both sides successful, but also to create a positive impact in the city of Dubai. So absolutely, it's out of question, 100%. Partnership with private sector, entrepreneurs, businesses across all sectors is one of our key focus in the next upcoming years.
Does that mean, for the audience out there as well right now, does that mean that the opportunity's never been greater? The public sector is there to support the private sector and perhaps make Thibault's dream of a city full of unicorns come true. I love that image.
Absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of opportunities. There is, as I mentioned, we've been going through digital transformation for 20 years. We have built the foundation to make Dubai an attractive destination for digital investments around in this region and around the globe as well. There is a lot of hidden gems around the city that actually definitely business opportunities that should be leveraged. We're talking about city experiences, connected services between government and private. I can see new services, actually new businesses, new markets being created, as a result of that kind of collaboration. So totally agree. Private sector collaboration is there. Opportunities is massive in the upcoming period.
Another question coming from the audience. It's a very long one, so I'm going to paraphrase, but thank you very much for the question. Basically, what they're asking is, and if we're talking about these unicorns coming through, how do we challenge the huge companies like Google, like Silk Network, Facebook, because they have obviously already got a monopoly on a lot of data. So how do new challenges come through and how do we enable them? Like when you're working with entrepreneurs of the future, what are you telling them? I mean, do they have to work with these guys? Can they be disruptors? that is a challenge because there are established businesses in there that already hold a lot of the landscape.
So Injaz, the way we do things with Injaz, actually, we recruit volunteers from the private sector. One is this approach, and this is the beauty of Injaz model and junior achievement model, is students will be exposed to see a wide spectrum of experiences and backgrounds from the volunteers. And I would actually focus a little bit on company program, one of our flagship programs, which go under entrepreneurship. Students do a real business from scratch in coordination with the volunteer from the private sector. They go through certain process like any other entrepreneur. They actually go through from starting a business to running a feasibility study, conducting a marketing research, raising capital, all of these things. And we focus on the idea of ideation and design thinking when we start doing things. And we let them exposed to what is available in the market and outside of the market. This kind of actually approach that we follow with our students, our young people.
Thibault, I want to bring you in here as well, because we look at Google and we look at Facebook and we think they're digital innovators, but they're legacy companies now that have been around for a long time with workforces of tens of thousands around the world. Is the opportunity of the future for these entrepreneurs coming through the fact they are agile and can move quickly? Because these big organizations like Facebook and Google now have policies and procedures. They're not the disruptors anymore. They are actually the incumbent. So is there a real opportunity for agile thinking companies to break through and make a difference and chip away at that monopoly?
No, absolutely. I think you have to look at it from an ecosystem perspective. If you look at this tech giant, what they provide is platforms, right? Digital platforms, and I think the opportunity for entrepreneurs is to leverage these platforms to be able to provide new services, more tailored, more niche services that these type of companies are so big that they cannot provide anymore, right? So I think it's about leveraging them to be able to provide services that make sense for customers here in the UAE, but also in the region, right? And so definitely, I think they will work hand in hand. There's obviously some I would say guidelines that needs to be put in place, right? And I think that's where also the regulators will play a role. And policymakers in the UAE and in the region. You spoke about data privacy.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely some more work that will have to be done in the future to make sure that we have the right rules around this. But I wouldn't see it as much as a threat, more as an opportunity in the current context.
Again, Dr. May, vigorously nodding your head.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that these companies, of course, when they started, nobody expected that they would grow so much, and the regulatory framework was just not ready for this kind of innovation, and now they're catching up, so there's a lot of talk about breaking up these huge companies and so on. But to answer your question, can somebody compete? I think there's always, disruption is always happening, whether we like it or not, and it's just a matter of coming up with something that people would appreciate or solves a need or a problem for them. And you start small, you offer something personalized, customized to the region need, and you grow organically, just like these companies started at the beginning. So, entrepreneurship is well and alive still, right?
Well, I'm very happy to say, this being a tech forum as well, that you guys are besieging me with questions. One in here, there seems to be a new buzzword out there, which is intelligent city, which is the smart city 2.0. What does an intelligent city look like? Moza, that has to come to you to start with.
I think it's intelligence comes from having the tools, and one of them is data. Basically, we always say, artificial intelligence and all that. It really comes down to data. Although data have been, in a focus area for many cities around, even here in Dubai, I think we haven't yet achieved a stage or maturity level where data is really used in decision making, and really at the core of all of these organizations, day-to-day operations. There are different organizations that are mature more than the others, but really for you to utilize data and really become intelligent organization and intelligent city is something that is, there is a long way to go. So the intelligent city, as we are hearing around us, is data-enabled city across all the different sectors, all the different people or organizations who operate in that environment. Have we really achieved that? Is there any city in the world that 100% enabled by data? In my opinion, I don't think so. There is still a long way to go in terms of collecting data, especially that we have massive data being created by all of us actually living on Earth, and then really utilizing technology to see structured, unstructured data and make greater use of it. That's my take on intelligent cities.
I can see, Thibault, you nodding your head there. I mean, were smart cities about connecting things? And now that we're connected, is Smart City 2.0, the intelligent city, about how we use that infrastructure now that we're all connected?
Exactly. I think it's about what we do with data, right? And we see actually, I don't know if you call it intelligent or not, but we see a lot of projects at the moment actually between public and private sector. For example, in Barcelona, in Tokyo, where city planners, policymakers, and the private sector are trying to make sense of all the data that they're collecting, right? Again, they've rolled out several smart city use cases, right? So you have your smart parking, you have your smart alarm, you have all these things, right? But they never had the question of how do we integrate everything? How do we create synergies to maximize the benefits for the citizens, right? And now they're doing these efforts. We see what we call cross-domain smart city platforms being piloted, and I think that's an interesting concept, right? Trying to bring that data together, and that's for me where the future is. And I think it's still a very early stage, right? Most of the cities are still piloting at that point. It's extremely complicated. I think sometimes what we don't emphasize enough is that when cities deploy this smart city solution, not only is the data, is it structured in the right way, but do they actually get access to their own data, right? And I think that's also a question for the cities of the future. How do they make sure that they take full ownership of their data, that they can access it, understand it, and use it? So that's, for me, one of the key things in the future.
I'm going to stay with you for a second, because if we say that the future is this public-private partnership, do you feel, I mean, you look with BCG across the region, do you feel that the private sector is actually doing enough to step up to the opportunity and the challenge? Do these incumbent companies, and apologies for any legacy companies in the room, do they have the innovation centers within them to be able to take advantage of all this technology that's coming? And if they don't, do they need to get that in now? And then I'll come on to you as well, Dr. May, about how, and you, Akef. But right now, just with your BCG lens, do you think the private sector is doing enough? Should they be challenging themselves more?
I think we definitely see a massive shift, right? So from consuming technology, so the region in the past, I would say maybe in 10, 15 years ago, was mainly consuming technology. I think now it's completely different. It's all about localizing the technology. We see more and more R&D centers being located here in the UAE, but also in the region, regional headquarters. So I think this is a complete different shift. I think, and we see it's a mix of, different actors are playing there, right? Global MNCs are moving their R&D centers here in the region, right, because they understand the requirement. I think also we see a lot of venture from the private sector, supported in some occasion by the public sector, to develop, homegrown domestic companies in the tech field, right? And there's a few success stories. So for me, completely different situation that we were in the past, and definitely I think we see the potential for leadership in the technology field in the UAE and in the region, yeah.
So, Dr. May, I want to ask, is it a case of the Gen Zs and the millennials, are they rising to meet the challenge that's there of the opportunity that's available in technology, or does the landscape actually need to rise to meet their ambitions? Do you think the pathways are open for the youth that are coming through your courses? Or again, does that come back to the challenge for the private sector to go, you guys need to be listening to these guys because these have grown up with the technology and they see the innovation. So where's the push and the pull? Is it the youth pushing or is the environment pulling?
Yeah, another great question. I think it's probably a combination of both. As I said, Gen Z and millennials have unique characteristics, and we need to meet their expectation and tailor the environment, and also prepare them for the challenges of this digital era, right? So this is where education comes into the picture and provides them with the skill set and mindset for that. Are they rising up to the challenges? I would say yes, because you see a lot of young entrepreneurs and people starting their own own business at a very young age, coming out of universities even, they don't shy away from this, and becoming more and more prominent in the region. There's a lot of incubators, a lot of activity with venture capitalists in the region that's also encouraging. So I know at least half of my students who graduate, they go and start their businesses right away without even working in companies. So I believe they're trying to rise to the challenge. And because they're so comfortable with technology in general, they're born into it, they grew into it, so they embrace it readily when they come up with new ideas. So it's a combination of push and pull, really, to answer your question.
Akef, do you, in Injaz as well, do you see that same thing? And do you work with organizations about how to transition all these young ideas into those organizations? Or what are you, again, teaching your students as they go out into the world of work?
I want to go back a little bit to Maya's point. I know that a lot of actually education institutions are working very hard to actually transform the students from where they were actually to the new actually era that they need to get into. But the problem, to be honest with you, that we are talking again about a youthful region.
Yes.
A lot of actually young people are looking for an opportunity. I can tell you from our experience as Injaz, our youth are keen to learn, are keen to get opportunities to learn. But however, how can we do this for the big number of youth in this region? The second point, that definitely we have a lot of actually opportunities. I can tell you that so many companies in the region has excellent programs that they can actually can be given to our young people in the region. And the strategy that we just embarked on, we are making a shift from content creation to content curation. So we're trying to get actually what Facebook, Google, SAP, all of these companies have to be able to actually convey them to our young people in the region. But again, the question is how we're going to make sure that all of our young people in the region will be benefited from all of these programs. How can we make a digital transformation in a way that can meet and cater to all our young people in this region, from Casablanca to Bahrain?
Moza, I just want to come back to you for 1 second. What do you want the legacy of your work to be? How important is it in terms of Dubai's attractiveness as a destination to international investors that you get the climate and the infrastructure right?
Absolutely. So Dubai as a city actually have been building itself for many, many years, to have a very strong, solid foundation for infrastructure foundation, physical foundation, as well as the systems around it, the legislative frameworks and everything, to really be an attractive environment for investors around the city. And for us, we think, if Dubai becomes an investment hub, it's a win for the entire region. We enable the entire region, boost the economy of Middle East. So Dubai has the right ingredients when it comes to infrastructure, legislations, systems, innovation hubs, and all that to really attract investments. And one of the very recent, platforms that has been launched that actually serves that area is Invest in Dubai, that has been launched by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Prime Minister, Vice President and ruler of Dubai. And the fact that he launched it himself actually shows the confidence that really Dubai is a place, a land of opportunities. The platform itself was designed in a way that really makes the investor journey very easy. It's almost, you can obtain a trade license in terms of minutes. You no longer needed to go through 5, 6, maybe 10 different government entities to obtain a permit and then obtain a license through one single window. You can learn about Dubai, you can learn about the sectors available, the opportunities in those sectors. You can actually simulate obtaining a license and having a rough estimate around how much that will cost you, which is very important information for an investor. And then go about applying and obtaining a license in the same day. And this is basically us enabling the investors and the business communities, and also positioning Dubai as an attractive, land of opportunities for all the different sectors, that might see Dubai as an attractive city.
I can see the clock's ticking away. It's nearly robbed us of all our time. I'm going to come back to you with one question for each of you. Dr. May, I'll start with you. What, for the remainder of 2021 and 2022, is exciting you? What do you see on the horizon that's making you excited?
The pandemic ending, hopefully. but
Okay.
hopefully. No, I'm kidding. What's exciting to me is seeing how different industries adapt to the challenges that we're facing. So for us, for example, in education, we're looking at blended learning initiatives,
Yeah.
things that attract wider audiences and keep students engaged. We're looking at programs in collaboration with the industry. Many people, Moza talked about partnership and so on. So we're looking at programs with industrial partners in digital transformation, because this is something that's really needed. And yeah, just improving our offerings in general.
Thibault, what's exciting you?
I think we have one point that maybe we didn't touch upon yet. I think we also have the opportunity now to close the digital gap, right? So one thing that COVID has shown us is how connectivity and you know, digital inclusiveness is important, right? And I think what's exciting is that we see policymakers, but also, you know, private investors putting more emphasis on this, making sure that we have all the part of the population that are connected, that get access to this technology. And that's super exciting. And I think it's also one of the key enablers of the digital economy. If you want digital prosperity, you need to make sure that everybody get access to it.
A rising tide lifts all boats. Great answer. Moza, what's got you excited? There must be a lot.
A lot, actually, but the summary here is what is exciting for Dubai and for the people of Dubai. You know, we're talking about, I'm also a customer as much as I am a government official, and what I'm excited about is everything that you're going to be hearing about in the future will basically result in improving your quality of life as a person, you know, living and operating in Dubai. And this is very exciting to me. I love living in Dubai. I'm an Emirati, obviously.
I think we can all agree with that.
All of you agree with me. And what's coming next is even more positive impact on the lives of the citizens and more opportunities. The city is growing. The economy is growing. Very, very exciting, events coming in the future.
Akef, time is out, so this has got to be a tweet-length response.
One personal, one professional. Personal, this is my first trip to Dubai since February 2020.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to be here once again. You know, most of our work is based in Dubai.
Yeah.
And the professional one, I'm excited that the digital transformation is happening. What actually we resisted as an organization a couple of years ago, now it's happening because we see the future and we can see actually the outcomes that's going to come out of being part of this transformation.
Digital transformation is actually happening as we speak. Guys, I'd like to, if you could please give a round of applause for all of our panelists, our first panelists, Akef, Moza, Thibault, and Dr. May. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott.